And now, after years of planning, sweating, and going broke, here is the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
I'll alert the media.
Why they would give this man a podcast is anyone's guess.
Then there is what could only be a bizarre coincidence or something else.
Welcome to the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Country music and fine moonshine. Finally, a podcast that lets it all hang out.
Let's level with America.
Got your boots? Ready for some whiskey?
These boots are made for walking.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
And now, the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Hey everyone, Jim here, Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. We have William Beckmann on the show today. We recorded this a little while ago, but this is one of my favorite conversations I think I've ever had with anybody. We saw William open up with Hank Jr. not this past summer, the summer before? Yeah, last summer. So summer of 24. I don't even know what the hell year we're in. But I hope you enjoy. He's got a lot of good stuff in there. And yeah, man, like such a good kid, such a cool dude. I learned so much in this episode that I didn't expect, right? Where, you talk about the music, you talk about life, you talk about these things, and then he throws in this nugget that you're going to hear in the type of music he likes to sing too, that I didn't know. And two, I don't know if he even did it when I saw him live, but I say that because I want you to listen and go, oh shit. And then I went back and listened to that, and it was absolutely incredible. So sit tight. Thanks for being here. William, thank you, man, so much. Like this kid has got it, man. And if you're not listening to William Beckmann, you're doing yourself a disservice. So sit back, relax, and cheers, guys. Thanks for being here. We're just gonna
cool, man.
We're just
That's my
gonna
kind of thing.
We're gonna have it. So it's nice to see you again.
Yeah, man.
When I was looking into your stuff when it was put on my schedule to do this, and I was like, God, this kid looks and sounds so familiar. And it took me a minute, but you and I met last year for Hank Williams Jr.
Oh, that's right, man. Yeah. We had a couple shows opening up for him in like Connecticut or something, Massachusetts, up there too, New England.
Yeah. And I was like, I've done so many shows now at this point, and listen, and it's like,
I feel you, bro. I feel you.
Like,
sometimes you forget. Honestly, I'd forgotten that we'd done something too until you just told me now. So you know.
And I was like, and like we had talked, you and I had met. We had talked about you coming on, and life gets busy and shit gets busy, and I was like, well, this is perfect. This is the way it's supposed to work out.
For sure, man. Good to see you again, then.
Yeah, absolutely. So how are things going with you? Like, what's going on with you?
Dude, so well, man. I'm feeling really blessed and fortunate, man. We're just busy on the road. I put a brand new album out about a month and a half ago. It's called Whiskey Lies and Alibis. It's my third project that I've ever done, but it's my first one with like a major label. So my first project out with Warner Brothers, with Warner Music Nashville. And yeah, man, it's just been a lot of playing these shows, promoting the new music. There's a brand new set, which the band and all the guys are excited because we've been playing the same set for a little while. So it's cool. Like the show's brand new, the songs are new, and yeah, I'm really excited to finally have some new stuff out there in the world.
That's awesome. So like, how much of a difference has it been, from the first few things you did to now this and having a major label and all that? Like, what have you seen that has been the biggest eye-opening kind of thing?
Honestly, I would say like the coolest part for me is getting to go to different places that I wouldn't necessarily expect people to be like super like familiar with the songs, and they're singing all the words. Like that to me is like the biggest sign as an artist who's still actively, I think most of us are. It doesn't matter what level you're at. You're always trying to expand and grow, and you're wanting to make more and more fans. And so to be able to see the growth, I think, is probably the most fulfilling part. To see everybody in the front row singing a song that you wrote in your bedroom, and they're singing every word. I mean, that's the coolest feeling in the world, because there was a time where it was just me in my bedroom and a guitar, and I had no fans, and I was sometimes struggling with self-doubt and stuff. So to see that's probably the coolest feeling in the whole world. And I think I can speak for most of my friends that do this for a living too. You get addicted to that. You just want to keep making more music and spreading it, and seeing people react to it.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about the addiction part of it, because we as we're talking, we just came off of a week of we covered four shows in two different states and
Oh wow.
four different venues. We went to New York City. We came back here to Boston, and like, I had a few minutes yesterday, and I was like, you know what, like, I need to do this. This is what I need to do.
Yeah.
It's amazing how addicting this can be.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's like, especially if you're passionate about something, I think for me, it's a big sense. Like what I always constantly am trying to chase is just that sense of fulfillment. The feeling that one gets when they know they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and like carrying out your, however you want to word it, your destiny or whatever. Like I truly feel like I was put on planet Earth to write songs and to entertain people and sing my heart out, and it feels good knowing that I'm doing it, and continuing to try to do it better and better.
Yeah.
So same thing with what you do. You wouldn't have gotten into this if you weren't passionate about
Right.
it. So I think that's the coolest part about getting to quote unquote live the dream.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember seeing you last. Was that last? Yeah, it was last summer.
But yeah, like
Um,
last summer.
and I remember seeing you and hearing you, and like you're a young guy, right? And
Yeah.
how do you
Hopefully.
have that? How do you have that sound? Have you always had that sound? Like when you first pick up a guitar, like, I mean, obviously you go through puberty and all that shit, but like, have you always
Yeah.
had that, like, like actual country sound to you?
Man, I never really like looked back on it when I first started playing. Like I don't think I ever made a conscious decision like I want to do like old traditional country music. And I do a lot of that. Some of the, I have other songs that kind of blend into other things that to me are more like folky. Some of the songs are like really almost like in a rock sort of space, but I would say generally most of the music that I do write and that I do perform is in some aspect or another traditional country music. And to me that is like a lot of the country music from the 60s and the 70s, the outlaw movement. I love Waylon Jennings, love Willie Nelson, love all that stuff, Johnny Cash. And so when I was first learning how to like play, I think I was just listening to a lot of that, and maybe that just kind of rubbed off on me when I was trying to write my own stuff. Also, the voice that I ended up with, I can't help it, it just kind of sounds that way. And so sometimes, like I'll I'll talk to somebody in my band or something, or we'll hear somebody on like a festival, and somebody that I'm just blown away by, who has a very different voice than mine. I'm like, damn, I wish I could. Gosh, dude, like, man, if I could sing like that, and like my piano player's like, dude, he's like, you don't have. He'll compliment me in the sense like, dude, your voice. That guy would probably listen to your voice and be like, it's just the voice that I have, and I've never known another one but except that one. So yeah, it's almost like as anything. As soon as I open my mouth and start singing, I mean, it just sounds kind of old school country,
Yeah, yeah. Now, were you brought up on that sort of thing?
I wouldn't say necessarily like my parents listened to music, but very, I would say frivolously. It wasn't like they they weren't super like, oh my gosh, listen. I guess they just listened to whatever was popular on the radio.
Sure.
So a lot of the stuff that I was getting into, I was sort of discovering by myself and on my own. I remember when I was in middle school and stuff, just going down rabbit holes on YouTube and watching a bunch of videos. That's also kind of how I learned how to play guitar, was watching a bunch of YouTube videos. I'm sure you remember the days before there was any ads and stuff like that, but
Yeah. I remember the days before there was YouTube.
yeah. So like it was a lot of that, and just trying to I was a big sponge, and especially in the early days when I was learning how to play guitar, learning, discovering new bands and stuff. I was, given my age, I was exposed to a lot of what was popular at that time. But I was also discovering like the Eagles and
Right.
Tom Petty and stuff that had been around for decades that I just never heard of, and I don't know, I was always seemed to like be really attracted to a lot of the classic stuff that was already way ahead of my time, or before my time rather. But yeah, I'm still like that. I'll discover new bands and new artists that I'm like, oh my God, I'll get back on my tour bus and like show my band. I'm like, have you heard of this person? And half the time they're like, I've never heard of them in my life, and then the other half they're like, yes, you moron, how are you barely discovering them? It's like, he's like, have you heard of this Tame Impala? I'm like, yeah, bro, like that guy's super fan or whatever.
Now, so where did you grow up?
I grew up in Del Rio, Texas, which is a small little town on the Rio Grande. It's on the Mexican border. So yeah, like I tell people, if you left my parents' house, it'd take you maybe 2 minutes to get to Mexico. They lived in South
Really?
Del Rio. So yeah, you would just take a left out of my parents' driveway, take another left, and that road would take you straight to the international bridge. And
Wow.
you pay like a $2 toll, and you cross the bridge, and you cross over the Rio Grande, and you're in another country. So that's how I grew up. That's the town I'm from.
Damn. That's wild.
Very
Wow.
wild, yeah.
I don't think we've talked to anybody that's been that close before.
Yeah, no, it's honestly a big talking point when I do talk to people, because I think a lot of people find it rather fascinating, and it is truly. I grew up there, so I didn't know any better. I didn't know any different.
Right.
Kind of what I was talking about, just like with my voice and how I sing. I mean, that's all I've ever known. So, I guess the outside perspective of it all is a little foreign to me, but it had a lot, like growing up where I'm from had a lot to do with or influenced my music quite a bit. There was, as you can imagine, a lot of Mexican music on the radio stations and just songs
Oh,
in
yeah.
Spanish, and even Mexican music. It's like you can peel that back because there's so many different genres of music that I was exposed to growing up. I always loved like the classic traditional Mexican music, which is mariachi music. And so a lot of that comes through in like my live shows and stuff. Like
Yeah.
on this last album I just put out, the very last tune is a cover song. Is a mariachi song that I'd never recorded a whole song in Spanish. And so this was kind of like my first attempt at doing it, which was honestly kind of nerve-wracking, because I'd sing songs in Spanish all the time at my shows, but putting something on record was a little bit, I didn't know if people were going to receive it well, or if I'd get a lot of, backlash
Yeah.
for it, or just people kind of hating on it. That's to be expected sometimes, but the response seemed to be pretty positive overall, which I was excited and happy about.
Now, when you're growing up, do you like that being that close? Does Spanish just come kind of natural? Like, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like despite my appearance, my family's actually Hispanic, and
Oh,
so
okay.
everybody in my family speaks fluent Spanish. I actually jokingly tell people I'm kind of the worst Spanish speaker in my whole family, but my two siblings and my parents speak perfect Spanish. But even like even a lot of the friends that I grew up with in my hometown that were white, like even they picked, like they knew some
Right.
level of Spanish. It's just kind of inevitable
Right.
whenever you grow up in a town that feels practically like you are in Mexico, just with the culture and everything down
Right.
there.
Right.
So yeah, kind of going back to what I was saying, when I was first starting out playing music, I was actually in a cover band with my high school friends, and we just played little bars and stuff and cover songs around my hometown. But a lot of the songs that we learned how to play were in Spanish, and that wasn't something that we did necessarily like on purpose. It was just kind of natural, you know. It's like, oh, this
Yeah.
this is a good song. Everybody loves this song. Let's play this song because the crowd will go crazy when we do. And it just happened to be a Marco Antonio Solis song or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
super
man,
fascinating. That's cool. So now, at what point, while you're writing songs, playing guitar, all this the whole 9 yards, you know, at what moment for you was it like something that you were just doing to something that you're making a living off of?
I always made a little bit of money doing it
Sure.
from the time I was in high school to throughout college. I did go to college. That was something my parents really pushed me to do. And at the time, I was, I really didn't want to, if I'm being honest. Because I knew that I wanted to do this forever. And I think they still kind of thought it was maybe, hopefully, just a hobby. But I did go to college for them, and now in hindsight, I'm glad I did. But it wasn't truly till after college that I was like, okay, now I'm out into the real world, and what am I going to do now? And instead of trying to even attempt to get into the workforce and get a real job of any sort, I just started playing music, and I packed up my car, and I'd uh, I'd left Nashville temporarily where I was living, and I'd kind of relocated back to Texas, and I just started playing wherever they'd let me play. Anything from little coffee shops to smoky little bars for sometimes just tip money or whatever, and then that kind of snowballed into me meeting the right people in the Texas scene, Randy Rogers, Parker McCollum, and then they started letting me open up for them, and then it just kind of turned into this big thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they haven't kicked me out yet. So
Right. 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 So how is that kind of how you got onto that Hank Jr. tour last year?
yeah, my booking agent is actually the one that put us on that, and my agent's the one that books the guys I just mentioned. A lot of the Texas artists, uh, we're all booked by the same folks, but yeah, every once in a while we'll get on some really really cool shows and some awesome opportunities. That was one of them that we were pretty stoked to play, and me and the couple band guys that joined me on that, we got to watch Hank Jr. play, and it was a trip, man. It was really
Right.
really
I mean,
cool.
and even watching Charlie Crockett play, like
Yeah,
talk
Charlie's a
about.
buddy, man. He's like that guy is one of those guys that I mean, every time I see him, we catch up, and it's like we don't skip a beat. We don't get to see each other or hang out or even talk all that often. But um, it's probably better that way, man, because I get kind of pissed off when I'm around him because he's immediately the coolest guy in the room, and it's just like he's got this, you know what I mean? He's got
Yeah,
this
yeah,
aura to him that I'm
yeah,
like, golly, man. I was like, I
yeah.
don't know what it is about him, but everybody just kind of gravitates towards him, and he's got this magnetic sort of thing.
You know,
But super talented artist, and I mean, what can I say? I think I saw something that he put on Instagram a couple days ago, like 17 albums in 10 years or something crazy like
yeah,
that. Like, that is insane.
yeah. I know his day-to-day manager really well, and I bust her chops about it all the time because I'm like, I listened to the Rogan podcast that Charlie was on, and
Mm,
I was like, I would have never expected pretty much most of those stories he told, or the way his demeanor, and like, you kind of get a sense about people after a while, and it's
mm,
like, I, you know, I was so pleasantly surprised with the way everything was conducted with that podcast, and I was like, this is the kind of guy you want to just like hang out and have beers with, and
Yeah.
just kind of like talk about life.
Yeah, that's how he is in real life too. He's really respectful too, and really kind, and funny too. He's a really funny guy. But I've always been a big Charlie Crockett fan, and proud to call him a friend.
Yeah. Now, when you're doing the Texas scene and stuff, are there, especially now, because we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of the bands and artists from that area finally, kind of, I don't want to say make it big, but like make it bigger, right? Be a little
Hmm.
more in the stratosphere of being well known and stuff. Are there a few bands and artists out there that you've played with that haven't gotten to that point yet that, you're surprised about, or have played with at this point that have gotten to you know, that
Oh
point?
yeah, I mean absolutely. There's gosh, I'll focus on the ones that are just crushing it right now, and I'm rooting for them. I'd say Hudson Westbrook is one that
Yeah.
that is just absolutely out there killing it. And what's funny is I knew it wasn't gonna last long, but we put him on a show maybe 2 years ago or something, where I think he just had one song out, and he we were in Dallas, and I'm really I'm really good friends with his day to day that works at the agency that books him, and she'd reached out asking if we would let him open up a couple shows. I said, yeah. We put him on a show, and he opened up. He only had one song out, but he'd already started to have this sort of internet virality thing going, and I was actually really pleasantly surprised that you could tell he brought some people out and stuff. So it was really cool show. And I mean, I would say maybe 6 months after that, it was like, that guy just, he wasn't
Yeah.
going to be opening up for anybody ever anytime soon again,
Right, right,
especially me or whatever. But we recently did a benefit thing together, him and I, in Texas, that George Strait was a part of, and we got to hang out all night, and that's pretty rare for anybody that does what we do, to get to see your buddies on a work day, and get to hang out and drink some beers. But that that guy is a true gentleman, and I think he's going to be a big star, and I wish him nothing but the best. I would say him. There's another young Texas cat. His name's Ty Myers.
yeah.
He's same way, comes from a really good family. I know his whole family and his parents and his sister, and he's another one that's got a really promising career that I've just seen, kind of take off. And
Yeah.
you never know, man. I mean, it's the TikTok thing. It's proven to be a really useful tool for a lot of artists and stuff, and I've seen a lot of them use it in great ways to get a lot of success. But I'm always just kind of I like to be a big cheerleader, and I love to see that stuff, and especially when they're good, and they're respectful, like those two guys are. They're great. They're both great songwriters, and both very deserving of the success they have.
Yeah, I mean, I know from this side of it, right? There's nothing worse than when artists have good songs, and the music's great, and they're not great, as people. It doesn't happen.
Oh
It doesn't
yeah.
happen very often, but that's the worst. But when they have, the trifecta, it's you can't help but to root for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, I've been doing this long enough to have my fair share of coming across people that I wish I hadn't. And all I can really say, all I can really say is, coming from somebody that does do this for a living, obviously as well, it can be tough, and the schedules can be grueling, and especially travel days, we get really annoying and stuff. And I get it when people are in a bad mood or not really up for whatever it may be, saying hi to fans or hanging
Yeah,
out, not texting you back or whatever it is. Like, I've been there, and I feel it. But what I try to do is just kind of lead with like just positive energy and like a good heart, man. Like it's so easy to do,
Yeah.
Like it's just it's so easy to just be nice and to be, be like lift other people up and stuff. So I especially when it comes to other musicians and people that are in my field and whatnot, like I always just try to kind of do that because it's easier to sleep at night and not be, not be labeled a prick or whatever. But,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
um, but it's
Yeah.
cool too. If you want to do that too, Bob Dylan was kind of that way, and he's Bob Dylan, so it's like, who am I to say whatever.
It's funny because like, we've been very fortunate in talking to like artists that are at your level, a little higher, whatever. It's all relative, right? Success is all relative.
Hmm.
I think. And I've started to ask people that question about, like who have you met and who have you met that was great that you didn't expect, and who have you met that wasn't great and you didn't expect, and like some of the answers I've got have been, have been pretty interesting,
Yeah,
and
I can only imagine.
because I have a couple, and I'm not shy about it, you know what I mean? I whatever, but yeah, it's sometimes it's surprising, it's really really surprising,
It can be.
you know.
So I'd say like one last thing about that is sometimes you meet people and it's not that they're rude at all. They're just painfully shy, and
Yeah,
so the experiences are always kind of like, okay, that was weird.
yeah,
Like it wasn't not that it was a bad experience or that
no,
they weren't cool or anything. It's just like they weren't very talkative, and then you just
yeah,
feel kind of like the whole interaction was kind of awkward
right,
and stuff. So
right,
you walk away feeling like, I don't know, I feel like that was a kind of an idiot or whatever. But
right.
those
It's
are
like,
always interesting. Like this is going to be really random, but um, are you familiar with like the guy that's like got his alter ego Wheeler Walker Jr. and all
oh
his
yeah,
songs are just
oh
kind of
yeah, hell
really
yeah,
off the wall and
they're
inappropriate and
awesome.
stuff? Yeah. Well, Ben Hoffman is his real name, and I'd gotten asked to if I would write with him. So I was like, oh, you know what? That'd be really fun to write some like really grotesque, yeah, really off the wall thing. And my publishing company asked me anybody that agrees to do it, they ask you to come up with a different name, with an alias, so that if he does put it on an album, that it won't be my name. It'll be somebody else's. So I wrote with him, and I thought he was going to be hilarious, and he was just like so serious, like just not. I was like, bro, I'm like, am I getting this wrong? Like, you are
Right,
the
like
dude,
which
right?
one's the
And
act?
yeah, and he was just so deadpan, and like I don't think he laughed or smiled. I mean, and I'm a very big fan. He texts me every once in a while, but I wasn't expecting him to. I guess I was just expecting him to be the
Yeah.
Robin Williams guy that's just always on or
Right,
whatever. But
right, right.
so that was an interesting
He's
thing.
he's come up here a couple of times in the last year, and every time I miss him, and it's like I'm bumming when I do because it's like I want to see him so bad. Like I think
Yeah,
my buddy Matt Cozio has opened for him like once or twice, and he was like, it was like the same thing. He's like, people come because they're expecting, an act more or less, right?
yeah,
And then he goes, and then I open, and like my songs are serious and they're sad and all these things, and it's like, but it's like it's real. Not that Wheeler's
it,
isn't, not that those
yeah.
aren't real songs, but you know, you know, you know, the
He's
shit,
pursuing a real. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Absolutely, I totally
Right.
get you.
And that's wild. It's wild how somebody like that, because really, forget about the content of the song, right? They're all well written songs,
Oh yeah, they're great. Well, because they have good writers on them and
right?
stuff. And like I never made it any none of I think I wrote with them twice, and those two songs never made any of the albums. But they get like a lot of my friends that have written massive number one hits. Everybody does it. In Nashville because it's fun and it's like
Right.
why not take a day off and not really take a day off, but why not take a day off from doing anything serious and just be
Right.
an idiot,
Now,
and write
now,
something dumb.
let me ask, right? Well, as a songwriter, right, is that shift kind of hard though for you, or is it like kind of like a breath of fresh air where it's like, you sit down and you write these songs whether they have happened to you or not, serious subjects or maybe not so serious subjects or
No,
just a
I
story.
find it easier to write stupid stuff like that.
Really?
Oh yeah, like because it is stupid, and you don't have to, especially with something like a project like that's super, off the wall. There's no bound. There's no you. Why can't you say that? It's Wheeler Walker Jr. That guy
Right,
says
right. You can say whatever you
he can
want.
say anything.
Right.
And it's funny. Later today, I've got a recording session with Dave Cobb, and Dave Cobb did all those records, and just obviously he's one of the greatest record producers of this generation, but hearing him talk about it too is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, writing songs is, I mean, I could pick up a guitar and start noodling around, and I'd have something that come out. Something would come out, whether or not it's good or bad. I can't really tell immediately, but yeah, I mean, I can write a song about just about anything. And the dumber it is, the easier it seems
Yeah.
to come out. So it's the serious love stuff that you're like, oh, how can I say this? It already that hasn't already been said 1,000
Right.
times.
Right. It's funny you bring up Dave because this is the second time now in actually more than that this week that Dave Cobb has come up in conversations with me and other people, and it's like, I'm a big like the universe is telling you shit kind
Hmm.
of guy, and God, I would love to talk to that dude, like, and pick that brain because it's like you're right. He has produced some of the best songs and albums ever.
Yeah, he's awesome. I've worked with him on something else, and we're gonna do something again today. But to get to watch him work is truly inspiring. Um, and he seems to be a fan of me and what I do. So that's always really, really not only flattering, but also like motivating too. You're like, oh man, like if Dave Cobb's into this, that's a good thing. So
Right, right, right.
so yeah, man, he's such a brilliant mind and such a special talent.
Yeah, yeah, he's great. And he did my Tanner Osprey's first album, and
Yeah,
we spent a lot of time this week with Tanner, and that it was just hearing him tell stories about Dave was just like, damn,
yeah.
damn,
How's Tanner doing? He's another buddy of mine that I
dude.
don't get to see all too often, but
You know, we
I'm a big
saw
fan.
we kind of ran it. Well, I wouldn't say, yeah, we kind of ran into him Wednesday night in New York City and hung out for a few hours, and it was great. And then they were here in Boston on Saturday, and they were gracious enough to have us come and hang out on the bus for a little bit. And we did a podcast and shot the shit. And it was he's doing good. He's
Cool,
grinding.
man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, as we
He's
all are.
yeah. So for you, music touring, like, what is your focus like now for? I know the year's coming to an end. Which I can't
Mhm.
believe, but like, the end of this year for next year. Like, what's it look like for you and your camp to keep the push going?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to start working on another album, which I'm in the process of doing now. In the very early stages of putting songs together and that sort of thing. But like I mentioned, a lot of shows still on the books. We're going to finish out this year really strong. I'm looking forward to every year. At the end of every year, around Christmas time, I do these crooner shows that are basically me dressed up in a tuxedo, and I do a bunch of Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and stuff like that, and a couple Christmas tunes. And again, my voice has always lent itself kind of well to that style of music
Oh
and
yeah,
kind of the older things. So that'll be fun. Um, but yeah, I'm writing a lot again too, which is really really exciting. I've sort of discovered about myself that I tend to write better songs when I'm already in some sort of a recording space or even in like a rehearsal space with my band. I just like plugging stuff in, and like I love it when I'm jamming with my band or whatever versus like here in Nashville, what's really common in these co-writing sessions is like, you bring a guitar and it's like you're in a room and somebody's like, what idea do you have? this is what I got, or maybe I've got this thing, and you just kind of sit there and try to hammer it out on a guitar. I've written great songs that way. I'm not knocking it, you know. It's just for me, it's a lot more fun and a lot. I would say like just creatively like stimulating, I guess, for me to hear my voice on a mic with reverb in the headphones and like have a guitar mic'd up, or maybe it's an electric guitar, or maybe the drummers, you know, playing a groove, and then you can kind of everybody kind of comes in together. I love that, and so I'm gonna really focus on that with this project and try to kind of write songs and build them from the ground up versus, you know, what rhymes with orange today? You know, like I'm like, who cares, man? I don't give a shit. Let's just make something cool. And so much of that process is like you can discover songs just by the feel and the vibe and the groove of it, and the words will come out, you know, later and so much easier. I don't know. It's just I think everybody's different, and that's something that almost every time I do get with my band, or we rehearse, or we just start grooving on something, I'm like, man, I feel like a really, really good song's coming, and usually it does. So I'm gonna start doing a lot more of that, man. I'm excited.
Now, when you do, you know, because when I think about it, you know, as a non-songwriter, like I would think that would be the way to write a song, where you get everybody in the room and do it in, you know, whatever. But when you do have these sessions and it's just you and a guitar or whatever, and you're writing all this stuff out, like, are you thinking about, well, this is how the drum part should be, or this is how the bass part should be, or this is what the, you know, this, that, the other thing should sound as you're doing it? Or are you just focusing on the melodies and the lyrics?
No, are you talking about like traditional co-writing sessions, like traditional Nashville music? No, I don't, and I don't, and maybe I should. I don't naturally, and that's why the other thing I'm talking about to me is so much more fun, because you get to hear that, and I don't have to imagine what it would sound like because the drummer's already there, or maybe the drummer or I'm just making this up, or maybe it's the bass player or whatever. Maybe they are playing something that you feel could be better, or maybe is not the right groove, and you're like, hey, wait, why don't you play it like this and do this, and then that, and you get to kind of like experiment. It's almost like making a painting, and you have all the paint there because everybody's there in that room, versus when you're writing a song one-on-one with another person and an acoustic guitar. To me, I've always felt that process is much more just built on the structure of the song, not necessarily musically, but definitely lyrically and melodically. And so you're just sitting there trying to construct. To me, it'd be like that's kind of, you could compare that to making a drawing with pencil, and you can see the whole outline and you can see all the thing, but you haven't really shaded it all in with color and stuff. And this is what the drums are going to do, and this is what the guitar lick or the intro is going to be. Now that's when you're writing just songs one on one, and you just kind of do a demo on your phone. A really popular thing now too is like having track guys that build out like a whole demo of the song right after you wrote it. And to me, that's even weirder, because it's a lot of the demos that they're just so far from what I would have done. You know, they're so far away stylistically, and just like vibe wise from what I do, that sometimes it'll ruin the song for me, because now I'm like, I don't even, like, it's just such a Nashville sounding demo, which not to knock Nashville. I mean, I'm here. I mean, I live here, but it's like, I'd almost be better off not hearing those demos than I am hearing them. Yeah. So I don't know, but man, everybody's different. Like I've got you know, one of my best buds in the whole world is Braxton Keith, and you know, he goes out and writes, and he always comes home with a great song, and that's how he does it. Now I just like going into a studio and just riffing. I mean, that's how Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers wrote songs. I mean, that's how they wrote albums. I mean, they'd go and say, like, it's time to make an album. They'd go book studio time with no songs. They would just go in there and start rocking, and then, you know, the tape's rolling, and then would start coming up, and then I'm sure Tom Petty would go in the back room with a notepad and just kind of start scribbling some stuff down and then come back and tweak it and edit it. And before you knew, it's like Free Fallin', one of the biggest songs in the world.
Right.
It's just like,
Yeah.
it's like,
It's true.
that
It's
must have
true.
been amazing. That was a great day. That was a great
Right.
day. The coffee was hot that day.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. It's crazy how you think about those albums, right? Because you're absolutely right. Like they would go in and do it, and fucking you'd get a masterpiece, right? And now it's not like that,
hmm
or if it's very few and far between where it's like that.
oh, for sure. That's very unpopular here in Nashville, if I'm being honest. I mean, what's popular is what I mentioned. What
Yeah,
doesn't seem to work for me as well, I should say. Not that it doesn't at all, but again, music's supposed to be. You're supposed to feel it. You're supposed to kind of live in it. So
yeah,
for me, why not experiment and approach it from a different thing? It's more fun that way to
yeah.
me. Doesn't feel like work. Sometimes going into you know the publishing build the publishing office on Music Row could sometimes feel like work, and I never like it when music feels like work. So
There. Now, do you have times, even now, for the amount of time you've been doing this, where you're going to go into a write or go into something with somebody, and the nerves get to you because it's like, oh shit, like, or do you not? Does it not bother you anymore?
just because somebody's like a super successful songwriter
Yeah,
or something. Yeah, no, I don't. Um, yeah, man, I don't. It's not really. I'm always trying to, like I mentioned, like I'm always really respectful and stuff. But it's been a minute since I've gotten like incredibly starstruck or anything. Yeah, and I've ended up in some weird situations that I thought I would have, but felt like I handled it pretty well. I'll tell you a funny story if we still have time.
yeah,
The thing that I mentioned that I did with I was with Hudson Westbrook, and we did this thing that George Strait put together, and it was a benefit concert for a lot of the flood victims in my home state of Texas. And we had done this thing, and it was a big concert in this rodeo arena, and there was a lot of artists on the bill, but it was a small venue. It's a rodeo arena, so it's not really built for concerts. There's no backstage, there's no green room of any sort. It's really hot. And so I was asked if I could bring my bus to this place because a lot of the Nashville artists were flying in. They didn't have their tour buses, so I think 3 or 4 of us Texas guys who had our buses close by brought our buses just so the other artists, everybody could kind of hang out and get away from the heat and whatever. And so I had my bus there, and I was side stage watching I think Jamie Johnson was on stage playing, and me and Hudson Westbrook were watching it from the side, and one of George Strait's guys comes up to me and says, "Hey, is your tour bus is there anybody up there?" And I said no, and said, "Okay, our special guest just got here, and we were gonna put him up in there so that he could hide out." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And I was like, "Who's the special guest?" And he's like, I can't tell you, but it's your bus if you want to go up there and see for yourself." I was like, "Okay." So I went over to my bus, and there's a security guard standing outside my bus, and the guy says, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is my bus. I'm just trying to go up in there." He's like, "Oh man, give me 1 second." He goes up on my own bus and then comes back down. He's like, "You can come in now." And I'm thinking, I was like, well, I hope I could, this is my bus or whatever.
right.
When I go up in there, Garth Brooks is up there on my bus playing my guitar. And I was just kind of, obviously I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh my God. And then he was so cool, man, like super, super sweet. And he's like, "You must be William." And I was like, "Yeah, nice to meet you, man." I was like, "Hey," he's like, "Man, I'm sorry I kind of took over your bus, but they're just trying to hide me. Nobody knows I'm here, and they're trying to make it a surprise." I was like, "Dude, there's water over there in the cooler. There's beer if you want it." anything you need, mi casa, su casa, like
Yeah,
have
yeah.
at it. And he was so cool. And then a week later, at my business management's office, man, a guitar came in the mail, and it was a guitar from Garth's camp with his signature on it. He had signed it and made it out to me, just thanking me, which is really cool, man. I mean,
Damn.
Garth Brooks is obviously a superstar and doesn't need to take the time to send me a thank you
Right.
note and a guitar, but just goes to show how cool of a dude he is.
That's awesome. That's
You know.
I get to see. I've seen him now
But
twice, and some of the best shows I've ever seen.
yeah, man. I bet, man. He seems like a really, I mean, amazing performer, and yeah, a cool hang too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I know you've got your stuff to do today and all that, and I can't tell you how awesome it is to finally connect with you after a year of honestly thinking about it and seeing you and all that. It's been cool to hear your story and hang out. And, for you to take some time this morning, I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah,
Hope we get to hop on another one soon. And anytime we're in the area, man, please reach out.
I
We'll get
will.
you tickets and come hang
Yeah,
out and drink a beer on the bus.
sounds good, man. Sounds good. And yeah,
Cool, man.
we yeah, we're yeah. We'll keep it at that for now. For the people that are listening, they don't want to hear all the nitty gritty. But
S-
we appreciate it.
Sweet,
We
man.
can't wait. We can't wait for you to get back here, and we'll hang for sure.
Awesome. Sounds good,
All
man.
right, buddy. Have a great day.
Appreciate it.
See ya.
All right, you too.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Our conversation with William Beckmann again. William, thank you, man. It was so much fun to have you on the show and stuff. And, big thank you for your team and everybody that had a hand in getting this episode done. We appreciate it so much. Um, and that's it. We haven't done much, anything crazy. Things have been kind of slow. I've been kind of just taking some time and breathing. But thank you all so much for tuning in. And next week, we'll be in sunny Orlando, so you're gonna get everything on the same time, but we're gonna hopefully get everything done before I even have to think about it. So, see you next Wednesday. Because Wednesdays now we do this, and we hope you have a great week. Be good to each other, guys. Cheers.